Imagine being able to get what you want in life with ease, simply by using the power of persuasion. Master NLP techniques, body language, and mind control so that you can read anyone like a book. Hello, this is Sebastian Clark, and you are listening to NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, Techniques for Social Influence, Persuasion, Manipulation, Communication Skills, and Mind Control to Master Dark Psychology, Body Language, and CBT. Provided to you by United Audiobooks. I hope you enjoy my audiobook. Now, let us begin. Introduction. Do you consider yourself a good communicator? We know you are, since most people are good communicators. Some individuals are awful. They mind read, don't listen, jump to conclusions, and aren't mentally or emotionally present during talks. And I suppose we've all interacted with someone like that. It's interesting to note that most people interested in NLP aren't typically these awful communicators. After all, it would help if you first recognized that your communication skills might be improved and be receptive to new information to do so. Because they aren't paying attention and aren't willing to learn or change their behavior, horrible communicators often aren't even aware of how terrible they are. It happens at all times. A simple conversation between two people about a significant subject suddenly devolves into an unreasonable lack of understanding. This is where good communication skills are important for personal and professional situations. It requires effort, focus, and intention to share and listen to others respectfully and decently. The well-known technique of Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP, can lessen communication stress. Learning these abilities, which involve language usage, sensory awareness, and responses to experiences in life, can cause a significant paradigm change in an individual. However, the relationship between effective and poor methods of communicating meaning and messages to individuals occasionally falters. The recipient or hearer of the message will interpret it incorrectly no matter how hard someone tries to convey a point, and leave it at that. Learning, observing, and listening help people develop their communication skills by teaching them how to react and respond to others. Knowing how to be more aware of others is one of the key advantages of NLP as a communication skill. This awareness leads to the development of listening, questioning, researching, supporting, connecting, empathy, and truly hearing and understanding people. This, therefore, enables you to employ abilities to communicate both orally and non-verbally in a way that is most acceptable for your audience. You can let other people know how they should interpret your message. All of this adds to skills that will enable you to communicate beautifully. Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP, provides strategies for coping with life's chances and difficulties. It is a strongly applied discipline focused on implementing results in the actual world. To put it another way, NLP is an approach to deep inner engineering. NLP is a potent interpersonal growth and communications method that gives people more power over their emotions. By regulating your thoughts and feelings well, you may be at your best more often, thanks to NLP's essential abilities and tools. In essence, NLP is primarily concerned with the combinations, comprehension, and effects of human behaviors in language on one's capacity for effective communication. Consider NLP as the manual for your brain. Various NLP strategies have emerged as more people have entered the NLP world and tried to understand the mind, conscious, and unconscious minds. These methods have tremendous power and may completely change how you view the world. These NLP techniques can genuinely change your life because our thoughts and feelings influence our reality. You can develop in all aspects of your life and use NLP techniques to enhance your performance and understanding of how people behave. You must change your thinking to bring about change. You may reprogram your ideas and behavior with neuro-linguistic programming. I've included a list of effective NLP strategies in this book that I've used to alter my behavior and change my life. Utilizing them will assist you in getting better outcomes, attracting more fulfilling experiences into your life, and reaching your full potential. Chapter 1. What is Neuro-Linguistic Programming? Neuro-linguistic programming, a psychological tactic, involves learning the methods used by successful people to achieve a personal goal. It connects concepts, phrases, and actions learned through experience to certain outcomes. According to NLP proponents, all behavior is positive. Therefore, if a plan doesn't work out or something unexpected occurs, it's neither good nor bad. It just provides additional relevant knowledge. NLP employs perceptual, behavioral, and communicative strategies to facilitate behavioral change in individuals. NLP is dependent on language processing. However, while having the same acronym as natural language processing, the two are not the same. NLP was invented by Richard Bandler and John Grinder, who thought it was feasible to recognize the thought and behavior patterns of successful people and impart them to others. How does neuro-linguistic programming work? Key components of neuro-linguistic programming include modeling, action, and effective communication. If someone can understand how another person completes a task, they may copy that process and explain it to others so they too can complete the task. Neuro-linguistic programming proponents contend that each person has a unique map of reality. NLP practitioners examine their own and other points of view to develop a systematic overview of a situation. The NLP user learns through comprehending a variety of viewpoints. Supporters of this school of thought think that the body and mind interact and that the senses are essential for processing information. The approach of neuro-linguistic programming is experiential. Therefore, to learn from an experience, one must engage in the behavior in question to understand it. NLP practitioners contend that learning, communication, and transformation follow natural hierarchies. The following are the 6 logical levels of change. 1. A sense of purpose and spirituality. This can be demonstrated by engaging with a system, religion, or morality bigger than oneself. This is the most significant change. 2. Identity. Your identity, which also refers to your obligations and the tasks you play in life, is who you see yourself as. 3. Beliefs and values. These are the problems that are important to you and your beliefs. 4. Skills and capabilities. These are your talents and what you can do. 5. Behaviors. The specific actions you take are referred to as behaviors. 6. Environment. Your surroundings, which may include other individuals, comprise your context or setting. This is the lowest level of change. Each logical level's function is to arrange and direct the information below it. Therefore, changing one level may result in changing another level. On the other hand, NLP theory states that changing a higher level will likewise affect lower levels. Why NLP helps improve communication? Many people look to NLP as one of the approaches that can help them improve and increase the effectiveness of their communication. You can use various techniques, such as anchoring and mirroring, to take the initiative in conversations with your interlocutors while also forging relationships with them. Many brilliant speakers who struggle with public speaking employ the NLP anchoring technique with tremendous success. Develop active listening skills. One can improve their listening skills with the aid of NLP. We spoke too often, expecting to be heard. Many people in today's societies are entangled in a deaf person's conversation. We switch topics frequently while taking turns speaking without even attempting to listen to the other person. All that matters to us is communicating our ideas and views as clearly as possible. Understanding what people say to us is not important to us. NLP can help you learn how to quit thinking about yourself all the time when you're talking to other people. The other person will notice and value that once you shift the focus from yourself. The relationship will develop as your trust in the other party grows. Funny enough, all you need to do to cause this response is to stop talking and begin listening. Using NLP mirroring to build relationships. Mirroring is an extremely effective technique. Until a certain point, it happens naturally regardless, but when you intentionally do it, you have many benefits. This tactic entails taking the position of your interlocutor. For instance, if they cross their legs, you send a message of empathy by adopting the same posture. The other person picks up this signal unconsciously, so they can start to listen to your arguments more attentively without realizing it. Understanding the map does not represent the territory. You can improve your communication abilities by realizing that the map does not represent the territory. Your ability to distinguish between your words' intended meaning and what the other person understands can be learned through NLP. This is one of the largest issues in our culture, affecting everything from politics to family life. We say something without realizing that the other person will interpret it differently. Then, when they respond according to their understanding, we become upset because this isn't what we were expecting to hear. Communication problems have been the source of many arguments, and poor communication skills have led to numerous divorces in relationships. Recognize that various individuals respond to stimuli in various ways. Learn the appropriate techniques to communicate with each of the numerous types of people you will encounter in your life. You must use images and photos to illustrate your points since certain people respond better to visual cues. However, if you're speaking to someone who is auditory, they'll need to hear the information to comprehend it fully. Kinesthetic people can be persuaded more readily if you can appeal to their emotions, spark their creativity, and allow them to interact with the environment or the product physically. You will be a good communicator after you comprehend the distinctions between these individuals and learn how to address each of them. NLP techniques. NLP practice spans a wide range of areas. As a result, NLP practitioners employ a wide range of techniques, such as the following. Disassociation. Choose a feeling you want to suppress: fear, rage, discomfort, etc. Consider being able to leave your body and observe yourself experiencing this emotion. Then you can emerge from it once more, which means you see yourself seeing yourself. This will assist in separating you from the feeling. Reframing. When I watched the 2012 London Olympics, I observed that all the journalists consistently probed the athletes about their stress levels. The athletes' responses were always the same. I feel incredibly excited. Amazingly, the signs of stress and excitement are the same: sweaty hands, shortness of breath, and a faster heartbeat. The athletes positively reframe these symptoms. I practically always employ this method for myself. If speaking in front of an audience makes you nervous, try framing it as an exciting challenge to help you improve. Negative headlines could be another illustration. Why do journalists favor negative headlines? The average click rate on negative headlines is 63% greater than on positive headlines. Thus, these headlines were adversely reframed by the media. Reframing is a strategy I employ daily. When my spouse complains that we are detained in traffic, I will purposefully respond, "This is a fantastic chance for us to spend time together. Have fun with it," and change it to something positive when you hear criticism. Anchoring yourself. You will start to drool if we start talking about lemons, their flavor, color, and the thought of you eating one. You are the anchor for the lemon metaphor. The same is true of several images or feelings. It has been demonstrated that if you strike a power stance for 2 minutes before an interview and adopt a successful mindset, this will significantly improve your odds of succeeding. An anchoring activity. Choose the desired emotion in your mind: happiness, confidence, calmness. Consider a time when you were experiencing that emotion while closing your eyes. What did you feel, hear, see, smell, or taste? Press the portion of your thumb that connects to your index to solidify that sensation. Keep your eyes closed and keep living it again. When you press that part again, you'll trigger a neurological stimulus response that will let you return to that sensation. Additionally, you can do it by pressing any desired stimuli or your frontal lobe. Building rapport. Why do we start a business meeting with a client with casual talk? Finding points of commonality at the outset of a relationship has been shown to boost one's ability to be trusted. For instance, we share a friend, a hobby, or a love of sports. Body language is another strategy to build rapport by adopting the same posture, tone, and keywords as your client. Make sure to use the same terms if you hear the important phrases they employ. When they pause, reframe before offering a fresh suggestion or posing a new question. Make your chunks the same size. My partner is very detailed, whereas I have a broad perspective. When he goes on and on about specifics, it drives me crazy. He also thinks I'm over fluffy for having too many big picture ideas. The same goes for your clients. If you want to establish a rapport, employ their preferred chunk size. Are they general or specific? Maybe your chunk is the same size as theirs. Priming. This method might be a little more coercive. An illustration of priming is background music in a wine shop. Customers are more likely to purchase French wines if they play French music. Customers are more likely to buy Italian wine if Italian music plays. Swish. The goal of swish is to rewire your brain to go from an undesirable behavior to a desired one. If you associate an emotion with a negative event or action, swish is used to break that link. For instance, associating pleasure with the act of placing your hand to your face with a cigarette. This method was one that Tony Robbins advocated for smoking cessation. He would confine them to a hotel room with him and force them to smoke many cigarettes. He would scare and shout at them when they didn't want to smoke anymore. He wanted them to associate fear and disgust with smoking. I hope you're enjoying my audiobook so far. It would be a pleasure if you could let me know how you're feeling about this audiobook in the comments section below. We would greatly appreciate it if you could also like this video and subscribe to United Audiobooks to have access to more best-selling audiobooks in the future. Also, if you're interested in getting more free audiobooks, please click the first link in the description below. Now, let us carry on with the next chapter. Chapter 2. NLP Techniques to Read Body Language and Analyze Anyone. NLP techniques look at a person's neurology, language, and programming to help identify what it is about them that makes them unique personalities. Learning to interpret body language is crucial for humans because body language signals are often the first form of human communication. In actuality, body language and eye contact often interact before any words are even said. We form our initial opinions of others and their opinions of us at those times. Once those initial judgments are made, changing them can be quite challenging. Looking at someone's body language is one of the most simplest methods to interpret their behavior. You may learn a lot about someone by how that person walks, holds themselves, and speaks. There is no precise method to determine what makes up a person because everyone has a wide range of mannerisms. There are still many indicators common to groups of people that can help you understanding a person's functioning much better. It's challenging since the first step is becoming conscious of your body language. You need to be hyper-aware if you want to comprehend and try and solve the mystery of body language. It's time to work on developing bodily awareness right now. You must first look in the mirror and assess your body language to understand what makes a person unique based on their body language. Some people may be more conscious of their actions than their thoughts. In large part due to the patriarchal environment we grew up in, women will probably be more conscious of their bodies and the space they occupy. Everyone may still have trouble challenging their body-holding habits. While attempting to maintain awareness, you risk losing focus and becoming overly self-conscious of your emotions and body. This chapter will cover body language basics while providing a framework for assessing people. You might learn more about someone's personality once you become more familiar with their body movements. The better you understand a person, the more effectively you can choose the most effective persuasion technique. Cultural differences. Every person is unique, and sometimes how one person holds their body means something different from another person who stands in the same way. It's crucial to remember that everyone's body language varies in various ways, so not everything you observe in one person may apply to another. It's crucial to keep this in mind when conversing with individuals from various cultural backgrounds. Since modesty is valued in some cultures, touching could be forbidden. When considering how a person might use their body, it's crucial to remember that other cultures might be more accepting of people expressing their emotions through their bodies. Observing others' movements. You can start observing body movements when engaging with various people once you are more aware of them and what they might signify. Everyone you come into contact with represents different things with their body. Some people may be more closed off than others. These little variations can be detected simply by looking at someone's body language. It's crucial to attempt to act naturally when observing other people and yourself. Although becoming overly aware of your movements can be easy, you shouldn't hold your body in a particular position. Don't focus too much on your movements because you might not be as conscious of your own as you think you are. But if you start seeing how people walk, you'll see how much you can learn about them. After meeting a range of people, some things may make sense. You can notice that one of your pals has a pretentious demeanor or speech pattern. Even though you believed your pals were highly confident since you first met them, other people may reveal their insecurity about themselves. You can gain a deeper understanding of someone by observing their body language and understanding the reasons behind their movements. This offers you more clout while trying to convince people. When negotiating for a raise, you might wish to exhibit the same degree of assurance as your supervisor. Maybe you've observed that you need to relax more when you're with particular people who seem timid and uneasy. At first, becoming conscious of your body language can be unsettling, but soon you'll feel at ease with how you move. Try relaxing in front of a mirror to begin practicing being at ease with your body. Set up a mirror to see how you hold yourself while eating supper, watching TV, or even relaxing in bed. You'll be able to notice how others move once you gain an outsider's viewpoint on how you move. Eye contact. Eye contact is one of the best indicators of a person's true character. It's crucial to become conscious of your eye contact because it reveals information about your character and genuine nature to others. To show someone you're engaged in what they're saying and that you're giving them your complete attention, maintain eye contact. However, using it excessively can give the impression that you're trying to listen to them. If you see someone becoming too anxious due to the amount of eye contact you have with them, change it up sometimes. Too much eye contact can occasionally scare others as well. A person's eyes may dilate, which indicates that they are paying attention to what you are saying. According to studies, when you make eye contact with someone, their pupils dilate, signaling that they are more interested in what you have to say. They are paying close attention to what you are saying and giving it much thought. When someone's pupils widen while speaking to you, you can tell they are genuinely interested in what you are saying. Shaky eyes will show the opposite. Someone trying to convince you that they are listening will undoubtedly keep glancing at your eyes back and forth. Although they are aware that they should make an effort to look you in the eye, they are uninterested in what you are saying. Shifty-eyed people can lie to you or attempt to trick you another way. They may find it difficult to look you in the eye since they are aware they are being deceitful. Mouth actions. Comprehending someone's personality also requires understanding what they say and do with their mouth. Someone with pursed or tight lips may work hard to concentrate or disguise a glum expression. You can also examine a person's smile. They might be faking a smile at you if their eye corners aren't furrowed. Not everyone who fakes a smile is malicious. They could simply be preoccupied with something else and unable to fully concentrate on what you are saying. Smiles can occasionally be a response to awkward circumstances. The main reasons monkeys grin is to frighten others around them by flashing their teeth, not because they are joyful. When they are frightened or anxious, they will open their mouths widely to display potentially harmful teeth. Dogs are the same way. Only when they feel threatened do they display their teeth. This can also occasionally be true for people, albeit subconsciously. A person's nervous laughter and smiles are simply a means of releasing their anxiety. When the corners of someone's eyes are wrinkled, they are grinning. A person who constantly covers their mouth is often anxious as well. They might bite their lip or finger or cover their mouth with their hand. When attempting to persuade someone, it can occasionally be helpful to recognize when they feel uneasy or anxious. Nodding. A person's head turns and tilt might be a modest movement. Most of the time, people aren't as conscious of their head movements. You can learn a lot about the deeper thoughts of the person you're speaking to by watching their head and neck movements. Someone who nods their head fast while listening to you might be rushing the conversation to make you feel better. They're trying to establish a pace for you so that you can speak more quickly. They want to let you know that they are listening to you, but you are speaking too slowly. Try speaking more quickly to keep their attention if they are doing this to you. A person who leans their head one way or another can be interested in what you're saying. Regardless of whether they are aware of their actions, they attempt to turn an ear toward you so they can hear you better. Additionally, they're telling you they can hear you and want to hear more from you. They can also come closer to you in the conversation in this manner without having to make any disruptions or interjections of their own. Someone may merely be pretending to be interested in what you are saying if they are nodding too artificially. Although they could be aware that they need to pay attention, they might not even care. They pretend to nod their head, trying to keep up. Additionally, they cannot understand what you're saying, so they nod and appear to follow along. Notice people around you are inadvertently nodding their heads. It might be wise to either change the subject to recapture their attention or explain yourself more thoroughly because they may simply be puzzled. When using persuasion, imitating someone's head motions can be beneficial. You might indicate that you understand them by gently tilting your head when you are listening to them. Additionally, it can demonstrate your empathy for them, particularly if they appear to be discussing a difficult subject. Arms and hands. Another approach to interpret body language to learn more about the individuals you're talking with is to observe how they utilize their hands and arms. Our hands speak volumes about who we are. They serve as a vehicle for storytelling by emphasizing distinct appeals in different ways. A person will use hand gestures to maintain audience interest when narrating a story. Imagine a person discussing a conductor of an orchestra. They will raise their hands to maintain a beat and speed for onlookers. How open or closed off someone is can also be conveyed through their arms and hands. They could resemble the entrance to someone's body. Someone with arms tightly crossed in front of their chest may be slightly more reclusive and reluctant to engage in extensive conversation. It's not usually a sign of closed off when someone has their arms crossed. If their arms are loosely crossed in front of their chest, they may be simply trying to rest. In such case, they are probably just casually listening to you. Someone who is highly open and perhaps even attempting to impose control over a situation will typically have their arms extended, possibly over their head. Someone wanting to demonstrate dominance can also have their hands on their hips. Signals. We all use a variety of body language cues as signals. Different bodily gestures can convey messages to those around us, intentionally or unintentionally, across cultures, genders, and ages. Without having to say anything, signals can convey information to other individuals. Someone at a party with their arms crossed and their eyes drooping on a couch is probably ready to go home for the evening. Another person on the couch may be giggling loudly and indicating that they won't go to bed soon by sitting on the edge of their seat. People close to the signaler can communicate ideas they would find difficult to express physically by using signals. Some people are quite adept at reading social cues, while others find it difficult to comprehend others around them. There are some key signs that a person will need to be able to effectively lead a conversation when attempting to persuade someone. Starting a conversation. When next you're alone in a room with someone else, refrain from speaking until they begin a discussion. You can observe how they might strike up a conversation. The majority of people will make some form of physical indication that they are going to start speaking. They might move in their seat, clear their throat, or perhaps merely turn around and adjust their clothes. Usually, a person performs something, however small, just before engaging in conversation. Take note of your actions before you speak when it's your turn to initiate a discussion. Never begin with or That immediately communicates to the other person that you are unsure what to say. Try striking up a conversation without doing anything. Try to speak without clearing your throat, turning your head, or making other motions. Consider the person's response. They might be startled or caught off guard by the fact that one of you spoke first. Getting a conversation going is crucial, especially to persuade someone else to provide the foundation for your case. Nobody will want to offer someone just starting their complete attention. It will be much more difficult to follow along if you start tripping over your words out of nervousness. Taking the lead. The correct amount of back and forth might be difficult to maintain once the conversation has begun. While you don't want to be intrusive, you also don't want to give them too much time to speak and prevent you from making your points. You can use clear terms to express yourself if you feel like the other person isn't letting you speak enough. Try stating, "Can I just say? Could I talk for a minute?" Or, "I'm listening, but can I say something extremely quickly?" These can be challenging to utter in some circumstances, and if you make a loud exclamation, some people could even think you're being impolite. Your best action might be to refocus by moving your body. To signal to the other person that you have something to say, place your hands on your hips or incline your head. Try leaning in close to signal to them that you want to lead the conversation now. Taking the lead in a conversation might be challenging because nobody likes to be interrupted. It's still crucial that you have a chance to speak. You can use various methods to practice conversational leadership so that you're prepared to lead effectively during a crucial persuasion. The next time you feel like speaking, resist it. Let the other person finish their sentence, then jump in. Sometimes we are so eager to get our point over with that we divert attention away from the actual discussion, rendering whatever arguments we may have had with the person we interrupted pointless. Speaking up the next time you want to say something is another approach to practice leading the conversation. If you have something to say but prefer to remain silent, force yourself to speak out. You will gain insights into conversation leadership by using these two practice techniques that you might not otherwise acquire. Chapter 3: Subliminal Influence. Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP, is the art and science of personal excellence. It is regarded as art because each person adds their personal touch and flair to their work, which cannot be represented in words or through technical means. On the other hand, it is also regarded as a science because there is a process and a method for identifying the models that top performers in a field employ to get top-notch outcomes. Modeling is the method used to produce better communication, more personal growth, and faster learning. Models, skills, and techniques are being used more in education, advising, and business fields. Simply put, NLP is changing yourself and the outside environment from within. You can start using a variety of NLP persuasion techniques to influence others for the better. State control. The first thing you need with anyone when trying to influence or persuade them, in my opinion, is rapport. People won't listen to you, be persuaded by you, or follow you if you can't establish rapport with them. How would you approach establishing rapport with someone using NLP? Well, first of all, let me draw a distinction there because state control must come before rapport. The ability to link any sequence of psycho-emotional states together within yourself at will and on demand is known as state control. The reason is that you will be at the mercy of whatever rapport you obtain if you understand the rapport skills that NLP has to teach you, but do not have control over your state. So did you suddenly feel energized and vivacious when you struck up a rapport with someone who was feeling sick or in a bad mood? Nope. Therefore, we need to understand that as human beings, spoken language comes last in our hierarchy of needs. No matter how much NLP you know, you won't be able to establish rapport if you are not in the proper state. Building rapport with people. NLP will teach you mechanical skills for matching the psycho-emotional state that individuals are in, which is often necessary to establish rapport with them. Matching their blink rate, breathing patterns, verb choice, tone of voice, posture, and blink rate are all techniques. Anytime you can adapt your physiology to reflect or mirror the characteristics of the individual with whom you are trying to establish a rapport, you'll succeed. Establishing rapport is possible if you are close to the other person. Simply put, NLP techniques will speed up the process and help you tune into the other person's frequency more quickly. For lack of a better word, classical NLP would teach you to duplicate as many of the traits of the person you're trying to influence as you can. Then, every so often, just make a different movement or modify something and see if they follow you. They refer to it as pacing and leading. In this usage, the word pacing indicates becoming like something. Pacing must be examined from two angles. The first is to do like someone or something as closely as possible. Rapport is based on that. The second is to discuss topics that are relevant to their personal experience. Building rapport with someone who is in a bad state. If you want to establish a rapport with someone, but let's say they're having a bad day, you still want the rapport for some reason. For example, maybe the person is a hiring manager for a job or a lovely female you adore who's having a bad day. While you don't necessarily want to adopt that person's bad attitude, you want to establish a rapport with them to potentially lead and influence them. Then, how do you establish rapport? Should you accept their perspective or not? Since humans have an amazing phenomenon known as mirror neurons and a strong need for connection, it does help, at least temporarily, to match their state. They want you to ally. You must have heard the adage, misery loves company. How to change a person's state. There are two ways to pull someone out of the situation they're in if you approach them. You can choose to fully interrupt it, which, dealing on the situation and the surroundings, might be the best course of action, but most individuals lack the skills necessary to do so. The easiest way to change anyone's state is to change your own. Thus, if you have good state control, you can approach someone and match their condition and physiology before changing your state and having them follow you. However, if you approach someone with too much energy, you might bounce off them because of the frequency difference. However, if your energy level is somewhat greater than theirs and you approach slightly faster than their state, you can lower it and increase their energy. Some states are too deep to interrupt, but generally speaking, if you connect with them, match their state and physiology, and mirror what they are saying back to them, they will cling to you. When someone feels a connection with you, that you are like them, or that you both have the same viewpoint, that is something they don't want to lose because they have been validated and have received the okay signal that everything is okay with them. They will follow you to maintain that connection and do anything to keep it. So how do you influence other people? We occasionally need to influence others successfully and convincingly. There are various ways to develop our influencing skills within NLP. Understanding what drives people. Understanding what causes people to act in a certain way is the first important factor to address when discussing persuasion. This tactic can be extremely subtle, but it works incredibly well. For instance, think about trying to sell your car, posting it online, and getting a call from a potential buyer. He might be shopping around and weighing his options, so he might decide against buying the car just because you asked him, unless he likes it. But you could convince him if you understood what their deeper needs are. Let's imagine you conversing with him and discovering he has a newborn child. Then you can start convincing him to buy by highlighting your car's amazing space and safety features. You can even purchase an extra seat for his child to appeal to his emotions. Limiting the options. The persuasion process will be aided by asking questions that limit the options since they create the impression of choice while limiting the response. In NLP, this is referred to as embedded commands. For instance, imagine you go out with some pals and ask them for dinner. In one instance, you might inquire whether they prefer to eat chicken or fish, allowing them to choose, but you are restricting their response to just those two possibilities. The second scenario will involve asking, do you want to eat fish or do you want to eat chicken? Both questions are simple to respond with no. The trick here is to frame the question in a convincing manner that makes it harder for others to refuse the ideas you are making. Of course, this is a very simple example, and even in the first scenario, they might ask if they want to eat some different type of food. Use the values in their hierarchy. An essential persuasion tactic is to capitalize on a person's identity. You would have a very strong chance of influencing the other person to do what you want if you could connect what you want with what the other person's identity would do in comparable circumstances. If you're convincing enough, you'll instigate internal conflict that will force them to do what you desire. Everything has a worth in people's eyes. People do have priorities, and it is these priorities that influence their decision-making and behavior. The likelihood that you will be successful in persuading someone increases if you can pinpoint their core principles. Love, health, attractiveness, safety for the family, security, enjoyment, pleasing others, and happiness are some universal values. Consider the most recent expensive item you purchased and consider your motivations. What principles of yours appealed to you about it? What might have prevented you from purchasing it? What had to occur for you to pay twice as much as you did? The responses to such queries reflect the values you put into that purchase. We can take the example of buying a car once more. What will be more crucial if a person wanting to buy a car has a child? Buying a sports car with 2 seats or one with additional safety features? The response will reveal their hierarchy value. Before attempting to persuade others, you should ask yourself, what is important to this person? How can I make my offer just as valuable? But versus and. The word but is extremely potent since it changes the available options. If I said, my cousin is incredibly clever but lazy, you may assume that he is probably not doing well at school or work because of his laziness. But if I change it to, my cousin is lazy, but he is incredibly brilliant, the laziness seems to lose significance compared to his intelligence. You can now perform a quick exercise with a friend. Simply introduce any topic in a sentence to start a conversation. The second person begins with the word and in her phrase. The first person then continues the discussion with another clause that starts with and. Talk for numerous more sentences, ensuring that each begins with and. Try the exercise again, but this time use the word but to begin the second and subsequent phrases instead of the word and. Then note how much differently you feel about it. The but lines probably make you feel downright down, whereas the and sentences make you feel generally optimistic. You can begin modifying how you speak to other people to influence them after you become aware of the influence words have on your regular interactions with them. Everything is about the other person. We must thoroughly understand the other person to influence and persuade them, including personally. Learn about their aspirations, objectives, and worries. Making it all about them rather than you is key, as is getting to the bottom of what they want. Although none of those above methods are infallible or will ensure that you can always sway people in your favor, they will undoubtedly give you a significant advantage and be a wonderful place to start. Chapter 4. Mind Control Techniques Based on Persuasion. These psychological techniques are used to influence other people's minds surreptitiously. These are the deliberate ways to accomplish a financial, social, or psychological goal. You can determine whether someone influences your actions if you are cautious of NLP hypnosis techniques. It is a genuine scientific concept. It's a fascinating form of corrosive power that, in the wrong hands, has the potential to destroy society. When we are directly exposed to something, our minds are more active in noticing it. However, we are not consciously aware of it. Every bit of information is absorbed by our mind, eliminating irrelevant information. Our conscious and unconscious minds filter these data. The brain is primarily responsible for processing these bits of information. Only a small part of the thousands of pieces of information we take in through our 5 senses are ones we are consciously aware of. Additionally, this filtering is based on a set of standards. Therefore, there are openings. This increased the mind's susceptibility to such forces where NLP is a potent instrument for mind control. The mind control techniques might affect a person's subsequent actions because they are the outcome of the previously controlled thoughts in your head. Based on Neuro-Linguistic Programming, these techniques can manipulate people's thoughts using psychological techniques and patterns. Let's first briefly discuss some basic mental concepts that provide the foundation for these techniques before moving on to the techniques. Controlling one's thoughts. There are universal rules of thought that have cause and effect. Through EEG, the biological nature of the mind may be externally viewed. It displays a person's level of consciousness, the intensity of their thoughts, their level of alertness, and the activity of their mind. The bottom is the beta state, with higher mental frequencies and a constant barrage of thought waves. There is another state under specific circumstances when mental frequencies are higher than beta. The alpha state is located next to the beta state. Since the thought waves are less frequent, the mind becomes silent at lower frequencies. Given that it has to do with hypnosis and subliminal mind programming, this condition is among the crucial mental states in psychology. The method of bringing people into an alpha state makes their minds more receivable to suggestions and programmable during traditional hypnosis. Thoughts that are constantly unrecognized can be subtly induced in the subject's unconscious mind using Neuro-Linguistic Programming or NLP techniques. NLP has a strong capacity for persuasion, and these activities, business, politics, marketing, socializing, religious acts, etc., all make extensive use of this method. Even while the theta or alpha states of meditation and the induced trance of hypnotherapy are similar, they differ in their characteristics. The first stage of meditation, known as alpha, will be carried on to a higher degree while in an altered state of awareness. According to Swami Vivekananda, 6 hours of sleep does not restore the advantages of half an hour of profound meditation. Still, it can produce the effects of 6 hours of sleep by inducing the chemicals associated with sleep. The mental perception. Unconsciously, one's thoughts are somewhat influenced by how one perceives external signals. Up to 98% of our cognitive processes may not even be conscious. So it is feasible to trick one's mind by putting anything around the issue that is picked up by the subconscious mind and bypasses the conscious mind. Few mentalist techniques operate on this tenet since they might wear a red tie, which the observer's subconscious mind will unwittingly feed into, rendering it irrelevant to the observer's conscious mind. Most likely, it's done by utilizing the word read in the dialogue or some other tactic that makes the viewer think of the color red. Highly trained NLP practitioners utilize systematic methods to incite these notions in the observer. The truth is that the subliminal mind is impacted more when the suggestions are subtler. We are not aware of the limitations of the mind. It can be programmed to perform amazing feats. His audio effectively influences the subconscious mind and reprogramming the mind's limiting belief systems even though he's not a psychologist. His creation gained popularity simply because it complies with the psychological and mental rules. Techniques for mind control. These are the main methods of mind control employed by NLP experts to influence others. Concentrating on the individual. The experts pay particular attention to a person's body language, eye movements, pupil dilation, anxious tics, flushed skin, breathing pattern, etc. As a person's primary emotion is associated with these signs, they might deduce the person's mental state. You can observe these eye movements to learn how someone processes and receives information. When a person is given a question, such as what color his automobile is, and responds by moving his gaze to the upper right corner, that response is created graphically. Similar to the last example, if the eyes were moved to the corner on the left, it would be visual memory since he would recall the car's color. Recent research has shown that it is less trustworthy because it has several complicating variables. Speaking at a human mind suggestion frequency. Delivering the phrases at a rate near the human heartbeat between 45 and 72 beats per minute may make the mind more receptive to suggestions. Voice roles to avoid the conscious mind. This method uses the vocal roll, a pattern-paced manner that embeds the intended point while preventing the conscious mind and reaching the subconscious mind instead. This is accomplished by repeatedly emphasizing the targeted word in the same way. easily and secretly establishing rapport. Qualified NLP experts use offensive language to increase suggestibility. They will build a relationship with you and make you more open to their suggestions by scrutinizing and subtly mimicking your body language. Making an anchor and subliminally conditioning the mind. As a result of this process of developing an anchor within you, it is easy to place you in a particular condition just by tapping, touching, or subtly programming the mind. Using trendy words in a powerful way. The NLP experts employ a certain pattern of words that appear typical but are more permissive and suggestive. More provocative words are those that have a stronger connection to the senses. Words like hear this, see that, feel free, ultimately, means, now, as, and because, among others, can instantaneously evoke an emotion or mental state such as feeling, experiencing, or imagining, as well as induce the desired perception in mind. They can also influence your ideas by using certain ambiguous terms. A basic interspersion programming of the subconscious mind. The interspersal approach involves dictating one thing while implanting a different idea in the subject's subconscious mind. Chapter 5. The Basics of Total Emotional Control. How much simpler would life be if you could instantly control your emotions? If you had perfect control over your emotions, how much better would your relationships be with your coworkers, managers, family, and friends? Emotional instability often causes negative behavior. An excellent illustration is a fact that you must first feel angry before you can scream or hurl objects. By becoming more conscious of how they behave and respond in various situations, many people work to develop balanced emotions. While it would be wonderful to suggest that everyone behaves properly, a lot of what is recalled is unfavorable or inappropriate behavior. These feelings cause people to act out of control in the worst ways. The secret to halting negative habits recognizes the emergence of unrestrained emotions. Imagine how revolutionary this can be if you experience recurrent episodes of depression or have trouble coping with bullies and rumors at work. It does not replace the necessity for expert therapy or, in certain cases, medication. It will provide you a competitive advantage in turning a negative mood into a positive one. It will assist you in controlling emotions that can quickly overwhelm you and prevent you from being productive. This does not imply that you are not experiencing anything or suppressing your emotions. You will still feel every feeling in a more regulated and uniform way. You won't let your emotions control you, which is essential for feeling like life is stable and that challenges can be overcome. It creates a healthy balance and allows you to see disappointment as something less life-altering and a testament to your general capacity to succeed in everything. You will learn more and more about how to control your emotions by thinking positively as you integrate NLP into your daily life. This essentially involves turning on all ominous thoughts that cross your mind. This is something you will first be doing knowingly, but as time passes, you'll discover that you have subconscious emotional control. The body-mind connection. Numerous books about our mind's propensity for reading body language have been written. Human interaction involves a lot of verbal and nonverbal communication. The ability to read physical signs that indicate someone's mood or openness to a conversation is something the mind is trained to do from an early age. The mind's ability to influence your body in this way is astounding. It recognizes the usual cues you give it to produce the mood you're in. Knowing this can prove that you have a much greater control over your mood than you previously believed. Your body will eventually adopt the mood based on how you sit, stand, breathe, and perceive everything. Take note of all the physical clues you are giving your body the next time you are experiencing a strong emotion, such as acute sadness or rage. Each is unique to a person, although most unhappy or depressed people will slump and breathe slowly. Consider the extremes in any circumstance. When you're upset, how do you carry yourself? Do you exhale more forcefully and deeply? What about when you are truly joyful or ecstatic? Your mood can be changed instantaneously by altering the signals you send to your brain. This does not imply that you will instantaneously feel better after losing your job or receiving a notice of eviction, but it does simply imply that you do not have to remain in a dark and unhappy place. Another important way you might transmit a technique is through your body language or nonverbal communication. When you use NLP, you become more conscious of how your body and words interact to convey your message effectively. Consider the scenario when you are giving a scholarly lecture on a geographical topic. You can make shapes with your arms to accentuate key points or to better define the characteristics you're describing. Simple pacing or other slow gestures will help people focus on you and pay attention to you. It all comes down to how you can keep communicating by paying attention to how your body moves. How to always change your emotions. To know what's important and how to give your brain a clue, it needs to change. You should practice the following procedure for changing mood and emotion for a while. You must feel confident in your ability to pinpoint the precise indications your mind detects when you're in any given emotional state. Whether standing or sitting, straighten your back and eliminate any stance slump. Take a few slow, deep breaths. Put a smile on your face and calm down your facial muscles. When speaking to others, be reassuring and positive. If you can, close your eyes and picture a peaceful place. Doing this while driving is not feasible, but you can always stop the car and do it. You'll experience an instant reduction in despair, extreme anxiety, or even anger. Your body can immediately recognize the cues you give it. Put yourself in a down emotion as you practice. All you need to do is behave normally, physiologically, just as you would if you were exhausted or sad. It immediately functions. Before continuing with the rest of your day, make sure to reintroduce a better and happier feeling. Removing unfavorable experiences. Imagine that you are seated in a room's corner. Imagine that as you read this, the dampness of the chilly cobblestones is so real that you can even smell the pavement as if it were coated in moss. Tiny water drops may be heard trickling off in the distance like a pipe dripping in the shadows. The light is abruptly turned off. Nothing can be seen. However, you can hear approaching footsteps. You may see a person standing in front of you. You sense that someone very large is shackling you to your chair and tying your hands together with a rope. You then have a crawling sensation on the back of your neck. It was a spider-like sensation. How did you feel after going through the whole thing? Right, that was uncomfortable. You are now. Even though you are secure from harm, the thought of that grotesque scenario happening to you makes you uneasy. The same holds for your greatest fear. You probably have the same experience that makes you fear having a close encounter again at some point. Do you recall when you first experienced that fear? When it comes to controlling, remember that almost everything in your environment impacts you to some extent, but you can only control how you respond to it. You, therefore, possess complete control over your ideas and feelings. That also implies that the greatest method to be in control of your thoughts and emotions constantly is the best way to make the finest decisions in life. How to change negative emotions into positive ones. You know that a bad attitude or being preoccupied with the idea that you might change will prevent you from giving your best effort. Sometimes, just because you're anxious about something, you feel like you wouldn't be able to do anything you wanted to. It's not because you've tried and failed to complete them. You may not have even attempted it before. Your palms are sweating and you feel like you're about to puke up because you're so anxious that you are physically responding to this scenario. Most of the time, negative feelings result from terrible previous experiences, which were so unpleasant that they conditioned you to believe that the past will always recur. You can occasionally picture yourself as a child attempting to convince your mother, who would constantly tell you that you couldn't do anything well. She insisted for years that when you are living independently, you might still feel like you are fighting for the freedom to pursue a dream. You may believe that your bad emotions are valid, but they are not. In reality, you are only cohabitating with ghosts in your head that you are comfortable with. Chapter 6. Using Dark Psychology for Good. Dark psychology is defined as the use of psychological principles in a way that causes harm to the target, especially when it comes to power dynamics, displays of strength, and manipulation. Dark psychology refers to the use of force, manipulation, and control for ends that may benefit the wrongdoer but harm or limit the freedom and power of the victim. Contrary to popular perception, one cannot silently manipulate people's thoughts without restraint or against their will using dark psychology. Dark psychology is also different from brainwashing because the latter involves complete control over a subject, doesn't always work, takes a long time, and has effects that dissipate with time. What then is dark psychology, and how does it function? What is dark psychology? Dark psychology, in my definition, is the use of psychological concepts such as persuasion, manipulation, and coercion for purposes that may be advantageous to the offender, but harm or restrict the receiver's freedom and power. I will start referring to anyone who uses persuasion and influence techniques negatively as a dark psychologist. Any dark psychologist is a manipulator, trickster, scoundrel, or outright criminal or abuser, since dark psychology is a technique for manipulation. Of course, there are occasions when it's difficult to distinguish between a regular person and a dark psychologist. Additionally, you can influence others for self-defense or to exact just retribution. But let's be practical and avoid becoming lost in a sea of relativism. Some people are much more deceptive and darker than others. The opposite is also true. You can more confidently count on some people to be honest and fair because they have higher moral standards. Using dark psychology to manipulate society. Dark psychology uses methods, procedures, and strategies to control and persuade people to act in ways that are good for the person utilizing them, but detrimental to their intended targets. The following are a few instances of manipulative methods used by dark psychologists. 1. Manipulative negotiation strategies. How can manipulation be used to one's advantage in negotiations? 2. The guilt trip power move. In the lack of actual authority, they employ this sympathy play to make people feel guilty and persuade them to comply with their wishes out of guilt. 3. Social scalping. A social scalper exaggerates what they did for others to obtain more social exchange points than they are entitled to. This one makes use of the idea of reciprocity to obtain more than they were given. Feminist manipulation. They encourage other women to be independent and powerful so that dating becomes difficult for the victim and easier for the abuser. Despite not knowing their names, many people will employ these strategies. They only possess a talent for manipulating naturally. Using dark psychology in dating. Using dark psychology techniques when dating means using psychological concepts to further one's sexual agenda at the expense of the dating partner. The dark psychologist typically strings his female partner along without a romantic bond. This includes lying about his goals and intentions for the future and acting as though he wants to get married, but just not now. He can also be unfaithful while lying about it. He makes promises but breaks them. The so-called chameleon manipulation, in which he presents a mask of the ideal guy rather than the man he truly is another typical occurrence. She lowers her guard because of his pretense that there are no distinctions between their interests and that they want the same thing, allowing him to get to the sex phase faster. If the dark psychologist is a woman, she typically positions herself as the prize, turns him down, and fakes disinterest to make the victim chase her. This keeps the victim's attention and interest, encouraging him to spend more time in the relationship. Additionally, since most men desire sex more than women, some women use it to get what they want by rewarding or punishing men with it. Dark psychology and politics. Dark psychology in politics includes political propaganda and debate strategies used to discredit opponents, sway voters, and persuade people to behave more communally rather than individually. We can divide the many levels of dark political psychology into two main categories: during campaigns and once in office. These two phases can overlap in democracies since incumbent politicians are still running for office. However, you can still detect a distinct transition from the campaign to the office, even in democracies. Here is a brief difference. In campaigns, you portray the opposition as ineffective, undeserving, the current state is hopeless, and yourself as the guy to improve things. In desperate circumstances, you invent an enemy and portray yourself as the best candidate to take it out. Nevertheless, once in power, you promote nationalism to put aside reasonable selfishness in favor of the collective, portray the status quo as good, claim personal credit for things going well, find scapegoats for things going poorly, and so on, which ultimately benefits the politicians who lead those groups. The last phase is typical for many organizations. Government representatives might be considered to be group leaders. Despots and extremist governments follow the same psychology principles as cult leaders and leaders of hate groups in their behavior. This involves fabricating opponents, fostering group cohesiveness through extreme ideologies and religious fanaticism, inciting fear, and positioning oneself as the only one capable of properly addressing the threat, and inciting anger as a distraction strategy. Using dark psychology in groups. Most group leaders aim to increase their power and leverage over the group's members while reducing the authority and autonomy of the group's members. Group leaders will employ several dark psychology techniques, such as 1. Make their issues seem more serious than they actually are by convincing them that the group, the leader, will be required to address them. 2. Make fun of, marginalize, or exclude voices in disagreement. Cult leaders aim to eliminate all divergent viewpoints. Since this is typically not possible, the leaders label any dissenting opinions as dishonest or uneducated to maintain the group's loyalty to their directives and beliefs. 3. Create a huge, massive opponent they can only defeat collectively. Once individuals sense a large enemy on the outside, they will be drawn to the group for protection. Business use of dark psychology. Dark psychology in the workplace manipulates employees into foregoing their self-interest in favor of the business while only accepting a small percentage of their genuine contribution. These include using catchphrases like "workers matter," "we're a team and family," "we can change the world together," "we win or lose together," etc., to manipulating you into working under difficult circumstances for the benefit of the company as a whole. Dark personality traits are sometimes described as an unintended consequence of choosing managers that fit the stereotype of a powerful leader. Employees should avoid companies that employ bosses with negative personalities and not rely on their superiors' help in such situations. It's very likely that the business purposefully chose this type of boss. Conclusion. NLP is a potent interpersonal growth and communication method that gives people more power over their emotions. By regulating your thoughts and feelings well, you may be at your best more often thanks to NLP's essential abilities and tools. In essence, NLP is primarily concerned with the combinations, comprehension, and effects of human behaviors and language on one's capacity for effective communication. Consider NLP as the manual for your brain. Various NLP techniques have emerged as more people have entered the NLP world and tried to understand the mind, conscious, and unconscious minds. These methods have tremendous power and may completely alter how you view the world. These NLP methods can potentially alter how you perceive the world drastically. These NLP tactics can genuinely change your life because our thoughts and feelings influence our reality. You can grow in all areas of your life and use NLP techniques to enhance your performance and understanding of how people behave. You must change your thinking to bring about change. You can reprogram your ideas and behavior with Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP.
We appreciate you tuning in to one of our captivating audiobooks. For more immersive experiences, here is another audiobook we're certain you'll enjoy. Don't forget to show your support by liking this video, sharing what you loved about this audiobook in the comments section below, and subscribing for more captivating audiobooks like this. Thanks for being a part of our audiobook community.